Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest tech YouTubers on planet Earth, Mr. Who's the Boss, has just posted their Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro review. And as you can see here, they say there are problems. It's in fact the main headline of the video. And in this video, Mr. Who's the Boss, Aaron, I believe is his name, goes on to describe some issues they had with their Pixel 8 device, namely performance issues. They say in the video that some tasks are just slower than they are on other devices. So in this video, as someone who has a Pixel 8 Pro and has used it for the last week or so and has been quite pleased with the performance, I feel like it's been as snappy as just about any other phone that I have. What we're going to do is we're going to take that Pixel 8 Pro, we're going to put it next to an S23 Ultra, which should be the fastest phone that I have in my house and maybe the benchmark, the standard for phone fastness. And we're going to see which one in real time is actually faster and if that gulf is big enough to warrant, and again, this is Aaron's review and he can title it whatever he wants and he has done so to great success and I'm happy for you, Aaron. This is not a critique on anything you're doing, but I'm going to determine for myself, does it warrant the headline being problems? Does it warrant the review having a negative title in my mind? So let's kind of dig in to these phones side by side and let's determine how big of a performance gulf is there really between the Pixel 8 and some of the other flagship phones. So in the interest of fairness, I have closed all running applications on both of these devices. And what we're going to do first, we're going to start off with the simplest thing, right? The thing that most people do most of the time. That is just simply opening normal applications. And I know that some people will say, hey, you know, that's kind of like an old test that doesn't mean much anymore, but I don't necessarily agree. The speed at which an app is open and the animations that play, how smooth that looks, I think is very important. So let's go through these and we'll see which phone actually jumps into tasks the quickest. What phone I should say, actually gets you into what you're doing the fastest most of the time. Let's do CX File Explorer. That was very, very similar, maybe ever so slightly faster on the S23 Ultra. What about Discord? I mean, maybe like a tenth of a second faster, but that's definitely data. That's worth noting that the S23 Ultra, that was almost identical, has been slightly faster in some apps, although you did see before the Pixel was a little bit faster in some other apps. What about Wise? This is another one that normally takes a second. Really, really similar. Let's jump into some cameras. They look all pretty good. Let's jump into these. Which one actually loads them up first? Very, very similar. How about YouTube? Very, very similar. I would say though, more often than not, the S23 Ultra is loading up the apps ever so slightly faster. In that instance, the Pixel 8 Pro was the faster phone. Okay, so for just opening applications, I don't think you can say that one of these phones is wildly faster than the other, right? If we're just looking at the way that the animations play, I feel like the Pixel's animations look smoother and more consistent, but I mean, maybe that's just me. Let's pick an application that's coming out of an icon. Take a look at that one. Take a look at this one. They're similar. Again, I don't think that there's like some mile ahead clear winner for either of these phones. This phone should be faster though, right? This has quite a bit more raw power than the Pixel does, and yet they're very, very similar. So let's jump on to some more sort of intense tasks. Again, to be fair, we're going to close out of everything. Let's jump into Photos, because Google Photos is something that I believe was keyed in on in Mr. Who's the Boss recent video. So let's jump into this photo. We have downloaded it on both of these devices, so it's not gonna like have to download from the cloud or anything. And let's click the edit button. Which one actually got into the suite faster? Well, that was the S23 Ultra by a little bit. Let's do a dynamic filter. That was pretty much the same. Enhance, warm. Okay, so the filters are loading at exactly the same time. If we go over to crop, and both these obviously can crop the photo. I don't think that should be anything weird. Let's go into tools and let's do Magic Eraser. Which one actually gets into Magic Eraser more quickly? The S23 Ultra actually did by, what was that, about a second and a half. Okay, that's an interesting result. Let's try and delete the leaf here. Let's see which one does that faster. Once again, the S23 Ultra was about maybe a half a second faster. But if we zoom in, you can see that the results are different. They look different to me. This looks more like a smudge. This looks more like, oops, This looks more like they were actually trying to sort of render grass or something underneath. So this is one of these instances where it's not quite as simple as which one was faster. Yes, this was faster, but this did a better job. So is it worth the extra second? That's something you have to decide. Let's do portrait blur on both of them. Once again, the S23 Ultra is a little bit faster, so that is definitely an interesting result there. If we jump over to the adjustment tab, we can go over here to something like saturation. And as you can see here, you can move both of these around and there's no lag, there's no delay, there's nothing weird for something like that. And if we click on done, let's see which one actually delivers the photo first. We're gonna do save as a copy. That was done instantly. That took about an extra second. So again, we're getting small victories here for the S23 Ultra, and that is something that we definitely have to contend with. Now, something else that I see people talk about all the time is they say this Magic Editor feature takes a long time, and we have to kind of understand something here. There's two things we have to point out. One, Magic Editor is doing its work in the cloud, so of course it takes a bit longer. And number two, no other phone can do anything even remotely similar to this. So we can say it's slow here, it's impossible here. So how do we know what slow is? What is our frame of reference for that, right? Just in case maybe you've not seen Magic Editor in action, what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the Magic Editor. I'm gonna show you exactly what it does. So let's go ahead and select Rose here. And we're going to just sort of drag her down here and maybe make her a little bit larger. We're gonna bring her into the foreground of the shot. And if I click on the arrow, yes, this does take a second, but it has to do this work in a data center. This is happening in the cloud. Is it lightning fast? No. Can any other phone replicate what this is doing? Also, that would be no. And if we look here, what we can see is it's not just that we moved her around. It's that it used AI to fill in the space that she left behind. It created new blades of grass to cover up where she just was. This is something that, like I said, no one else can do. What is our frame of reference for speed? And guys, I've used this one as an example before. I'm gonna use it again because it's absolutely incredible. I'm gonna zoom in here and I want you to tell me, is there anything about this that looks like it was edited? Let's look at the shadow here that's being cast from this one plank over to this plank. Let's look at the reflections and how they match up with the trees up here. Is there anything weird about this photo to you? Well, if you said no, you'd be wrong because there's supposed to be a person there. It generated all of that stuff. So again, for the umpteenth time, does this take a second? Absolutely. Is it mind-blowing? Absolutely. Let's try and push things a little bit further by using a video. What we're gonna do here, same kind of result, is we're gonna go to the filters and we're going to apply just the first filter here to both of them. And we're going to try and save a copy. And hopefully this will kind of let us see which one actually renders the video first. We'll do the same test in something like CapCut because Google Photos is a little bit inconsistent when it comes to tasks like this. But again, I would expect to see this phone be a little bit faster. We'll see if that's actually how things pan out. So we just got a finish here for the S23 Ultra, and then there was our finish for the Pixel 8 Pro. So that was relatively close. Let's jump into CapCut. We're going to crank this thing up to 4K. We're gonna crank up the bitrate. Let's just crank up everything, right? Let's just go as far as we possibly can, and we will try to output both of these at the exact same time. So which one actually renders the video faster in an app that I would say is a little bit more efficient than Google Photos. Let's be honest, Google Photos is just a bit slow on every phone. And as you can see here, kind of a strange result. I'm a little bit surprised. The Pixel 8 Pro is actually rendering this 4K maxed out video faster than the S23 Ultra. We'll kind of speed through this and make sure nothing weird happens though. And as we're coming around the home stretch here, the Pixel 8 Pro is absolutely demolishing the S23 Ultra in outputting video. That is a fairly surprising result for me. Maybe that's a surprising result for you. We'll move on and do some more testing here. So this is 3D Mark, and we're going to run the Wildlife Extreme test, and this is one that I think that the S23 Ultra should absolutely destroy the Pixel 8 Pro. This is a gaming test, and this is a place where I'm not gonna lie to you, I'll tell you this every day of the week. The Pixel 8 Pro is just not as good at gaming as some of these other devices. So we're gonna run this and we're gonna get our results. You can already see that we're actually running the test already here, and we're just getting into it here, and the frame rate is significantly lower on the Pixel 8 Pro. We're just gonna skip ahead though and see those results. And we have our result here, and as you can see, the S23 Ultra absolutely did, in fact, demolish the Pixel 8 Pro. If we scroll down here, I think that there are some other interesting things to look at here. So the temperature got up to 30 Cs, 28 here. The frame rate was higher here versus here. I mean, if we're talking about gaming, I have no problem with saying that the Pixel 8 Pro is just the worst device. Between these two, it is the weaker device in terms of gaming. And in fact, if we go back into the stress test, what this is going to do is it's going to run that same test 20 times in a row. And I think what you're going to see is this is going to degrade each time until it gets to a pretty crummy low point. This, I'm thinking, will stay in a decent place. Yes, they are both wearing a case. It's not going to make a significant difference to these thermals. So we're just going to let this run 20 times, as you can see here, and we're going to see what that result is as well. All right, we are rounding the home stretch here on the stress test. And as you can see, we've dropped down to like 11, 12, 13 FPS. We're down to like between 7 and 9 FPS there. And we should have a full result here with temperatures, thermals, all that good stuff here in just a moment. All right, here we go. Stability is actually higher on the Pixel 8 Pro, which is pretty interesting. But as you can see, the best loop and lowest loop, it's getting destroyed. And if we scroll down here, you can see that we hit 43 degrees Celsius, but oh my God, so did the S23 Ultra. Almost like the thermal issues of this phone maybe have been a little bit overblown. In terms of the temperatures themselves, don't get me wrong, this is still bad at gaming. But let's not pretend like this thing doesn't also get warm. Phones get hot when you push them. You can see this here, same temperatures, almost identical temperatures, higher performance, same temperatures. Although yes, it is fair to say that the Pixel will get warm faster. It will get warm sometimes on tasks where this one doesn't. But let's not pretend this phone, as you can see here, does not also get warm when it's pushed. So in the past, I have said that the Pixel 8 Pro often feels just as fast as my S23 Ultra and sometimes feels faster. After doing these side-by-side tests, do I feel the need to amend my statement? I would say, no, not really. What I would say is to add more detail is that more often than not, the S23 Ultra is probably going to be a half a second, a quarter second faster at some tasks. I will also say, though, that the Pixel 8 Pro is going to be faster at some other tasks, and I will also say that just for my proclivities, I feel like the animations on the Pixel 8 Pro feel smoother, they're bouncier, they feel more alive, and that probably contributes to my perception of the device being maybe even quicker than it actually is, even though it is a fairly quick device, as I feel like you've just seen side-by-side launching apps with that S23 Ultra. Are there realms in which the Pixel 8 Pro does not have performance that is up to snuff with other flagships? I think that's obvious, right? When it comes to gaming, it's not up to that same caliber. This is not a phone meant for gaming. Just like when you bought your MacBook Air, you didn't buy that for gaming. You bought it for what it was good at. It's the same thing here. If you're looking for a gaming phone, this just ain't it. Can you game on it? Sure. Is it great at it? No, it's just not. But at the end of the day, for me, do I consider these performance hitches to be a problem? I just don't, guys. Like, we're talking about an extra second processing a photo here and there. And then if you go to render a video in CapCut, you're probably going to save all of that time and then some. If you're going to go and deeply edit your photo, changing out the faces of people in a burst group shot, you're definitely going to save time there. It's really going to come down to what you value the most, though, right? What do you value? If you value the most screaming performance you can possibly get, this is probably not going to be the phone for you. If you value, though, a phone that is as fast as pretty much anything else on the market, not the fastest, but is in no reality a slow phone, but also gives you all of that pixel stuff like Magic Editor, like Best Take, like call screening. I do all the assistant features, on and on and on and on and on. That's what this phone is for. That is who that phone is for. So guys, there you go. That is the honest data. You've seen it for yourself. You can make your own determination as to what is important to you and if this is a phone that makes sense for you to purchase. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, guys. I'll see you on the next one.